The Prime Minister, Mateusz Morawiecki, joins me now on the line from Warsaw. Prime Minister, thank you for taking time. I know these are exceptionally busy times for you, and we're grateful. Let's start with the position in Poland for the coronavirus. How close are you, do you think, in Poland to the peak?
Unfortunately, I think that the peak is still ahead of us, and we will have several thousand, if not more, of the cases. This is a real earthquake also for our economy. Right now, we're fighting with the coronavirus pandemic from the point of view of our healthcare system and not letting new cases into Poland. This is why we have introduced as the first country in Europe so-called sanitary border controls, and they have helped us to slow down the inflow of new cases into Poland. But on top of this, we are introducing many other measures.
Would you say that Schengen should be suspended now for the time being, whilst this is being dealt with?
Schengen has special procedures which allow member states to temporarily change the rules, and this is what we have done. We have started the border controls because we know that most of the cases are coming from abroad, are coming from Italy, from Spain, from other countries in the western part of the European Union. This is why those controls have helped us to put more people into quarantine and to slow down the process. We have introduced quite restrictive measures compared to the other countries of the EU, and they seem to be quite effective. We have less cases than many other countries. We have restricted restaurants, bars, pubs. We have also stopped schools and kindergartens. So the whole country is, so to say, frozen, which is very detrimental to our economy, but this is needed, very much needed to do so for a couple of weeks, with the hope that later on we will very quickly be able to re-establish the linkages of supply chain, production chains, and we will do this.
Now, in terms of the economics of this, you've put forward a plan, a robust plan. In fact, it's one of the most robust in the sense of you're actually prepared to pay companies up to 40% of certain workers' wages in certain circumstances. This is a bold move, but can you actually do it? Is that not, putting it bluntly, that's a very expensive move that can break the bank?
I was actually working at a bank during the previous crisis, post-Lehman collapse, and I can tell you, Richard, this crisis is different from the other ones. This crisis is a very, very different and very difficult one because it is now breaking the real fabric between different supply chains and is very much destroying our economy in a Schumpeterian way. So this is why we have introduced a very bold plan, a very effective and important one. It's a plan of a size similar to 10% of our GDP, close to 10% of our GDP, and it includes a safety net for workers. And yes, exactly as you said, up to 40% of a salary of an employee will be reimbursed, remunerated by the state budget, because we believe that it is much better to save the working places throughout the next couple of weeks, and at the same time to preserve the capacity of the companies to bounce back once the crisis is slowing down. So this is one of the many measures we have introduced. Our plan is consisting of 5 pillars, and one of them is specifically dedicated to workers, a safety net for workers, for employees.
The ECB has done huge amounts, and of course, even for non-Euro members, they will benefit if Eurozone members become more secure. But I wonder, the European Commission and the President, you've been critical on the money being offered by the Euro institutions. Do you think they have got a grip on this?
I talk to the European Commission and the President of the European Commission every couple of days to Ursula von der Leyen. And every couple of days we also meet in a form of the European Council, which is prime ministers and presidents from all the EU member states. And the EU is being aware of the size, enormous size of this challenge ahead of us. Having said that, the real money has not yet been put in place. The state budgets are right now in use, and our program is entirely based on state budget. I hope that the European Commission will use new money to fight with this crisis, and I'm pleased with the reaction of the European Central Bank,
right.
Which stepped into the game very decisively, purchasing bonds from the market, but also preparing a kind of LTRO or next round of LTRO, which is long-term refinancing operations, very important to preserve liquidity of the companies through the banking sector.
Prime Minister, we'll touch base with you again, if we may, as this crisis continues, to find out how it's going. I'm grateful for you tonight for taking time. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me.